Sow and Grow Regenerative. I'm here today to do a video on WCA, which is Water Soluble Calcium. And Water Soluble Calcium is this amazing amendment that you can add to your garden plants, whether that would be your normal crops. But as it's calcium, we're going to be using eggshells. So I've got some crushed up eggshells here, and I'm going to pour them into the frying pan, just like so. Easy peasy. So I've taken the eggshells and I've crushed them up, and the idea of water soluble calcium is we are taking the calcium from the eggshells and making it into a soluble form. So what we can actually essentially do is add this as a foliar spray to our plants. What this essentially does is it strengthens the plants from attack from pests and things like fungal pathogens. And the reason this happens, the reason plants get attacked by fungal pathogens such as blight, so most people will know blight happens with tomatoes and potatoes. The reason that, because essentially it's a fungus, the blight, the reason that blight can get through is because the cell walls are weak. And there's three things that make the cell walls weak. It's lack of sulfur, lack of calcium, and lack of boron. So today we're going to be focusing on the calcium. You can do this through coral sand, but as most of us don't have access to coral sand, we are looking for the eggshells. So most shells will do. Get organic shells where the hens have been fed, or ducks have been fed on a natural diet. That means there's going to be abundance of calcium in the shell. So the first part of this will be to cook the eggshells until they're brown. We also need to blow off the membrane that's inside of the shell. So we can do this by flipping it like the chefs do, or we can get a bit of card and we can fan it. I suggest you do this in an outside space or near a window, just so you don't have to be picking up the membrane from inside your kitchen. Then the next part of this will be the most significant part, and that's where we mix the eggshells with a vinegar. I'm going to be using organic apple cider vinegar. You can use rice vinegar, or you can use like normal white vinegar. But obviously the better the vinegar, the better the process will be. So I'm going to start off, it's going to take about 10 minutes to brown these shells and get the membrane off. Then I'll show you the next part. So thanks for tuning in. So I would suggest what you do is you put this on about a medium heat, and you just want to slowly heat the shells, crushing them up as you go, and as it heats up you'll see bits of the membrane which you then want to kind of get rid of. Yeah, just on the edges there. So that will come off all the shell, and then the idea is, as I said, just fan that. So yeah. Also, as the shells brown a little bit more and they get more cooked, they'll become more brittle. That's another way to be able to tell when it's ready. If you don't cook the shells enough, the second part of the process won't happen effectively. And essentially what you're looking for is when you mix the vinegar with the eggshells, the vinegar is actually going to strip the calcium through an acidic process off of the eggshells. I'll show you how that actually happens, but essentially that's what you're looking for. So it's best to overcook them. If you're going to, you know, between undercooking and overcooking, it's better to overcook them. But you'll be able to tell because of the smell, etc. And you'll be able to see that the shells are browning. So right, so now the membrane's starting to come off, I'm going to give that a fan. And all I'm doing is this, and you'll see the white membrane come off. I'll show you the next part of WCA, Water Soluble Calcium. So we have done the eggshells, they're all toasted, all the membranes blown off. Now what we can do is add the vinegar. As I said earlier, I'm going to be using apple cider vinegar, and this process is really easy, and I'll take you through it, and then we can kind of just see how it goes from there. So there you see the eggshells. Yeah, as you can see, I've put indications of measurements up one side, and as you can see the eggshells are just above 1, about 1.4. So with the WCA we want 1 part eggshells and 10 parts vinegar. So I'm going to fill the vinegar up to this line right up here, maybe a little bit above. And then what you'll see happening is, if those eggshells have been toasted enough, the vinegar, the acidity in the vinegar will actually start to cause a reaction with these eggshells, and these eggshells will start shooting up. That's when you know that you've done that correctly. Then we're going to leave it between 7 and 10 days covered with a breathable top, so you can just use kitchen towel or like cheesecloth or something like that. You leave it for those 7 to 10 days, and then the end result is water soluble calcium. You will drain off the liquid from the shells. You can use the shells and stick them in your compost heap or something like that, or even on the garden. You know, we want to utilise everything we use, and then the water soluble calcium is then shelf stable. If it's store-bought vinegar, the date is endless. You know, you can use that forever essentially, as long as you keep it in a cool place. If it's like what I've got, which is this, yeah, then that you can't guarantee it, but it will keep for a long time. And only use water soluble calcium as a foliar spray. You'll see in my other videos why, but if you add too much calcium to your soil, it can actually cause a reaction where you lock up the soil, which essentially can turn it into concrete. So brilliant. So as you can see, all the eggshells moving up. So that means that the eggshells have been toasted enough, and that will continue to do that for up to 7 days. It can be longer. You can leave it 10 days. Once this process is done, I will show you how to apply it to your plants and when to apply it. So I'm going to cover that up. I'll show you. Literally cover that up like that. Put an elastic band on it. Like so. As long as that can breathe, that'll be absolutely fine. And there's your WCA. So I'm going to put that in a place where there's not going to be any sunlight on it. Whenever you're doing a fermentation, you want it to be in like a dark place. You don't want any sunlight interfering with the process. So that's WCA for you. And next time I'm going to show you how to do a similar thing